And when rapid speed down to 2,500.
Good point. Wherever you reduce speed to 180.
Blackbox.
All right, hey gang, welcome back to KP's Blackbox. Today I have a special guest and new hire with Kenneth Porter and Company, Mr. Shannon Shortridge, the guy with more names, Stephen Shannon Shortridge.
Shortridge, there you go.
All S's,
Yep.
the 4 S's.
Quadruple S.
Yeah, quad S is what we'll
Used
call
to be
you.
triple, but with the shorty short in there.
Yeah,
I just ran into another guy, one of our hopeful clients coming up. He has the same problem I have. Goes by his middle name, but also goes by his first name. So he's like, I don't know who I told what, and I just kind of throw a name out there to see if they remember me.
you're like, that's the worst too. You haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah.
And you're like, that guy.
Yeah.
His name begins with an S, but there's like multiple S's.
Yeah.
Like,
4 of them.
yeah. Is that your dad's fault?
You know, my dad goes by his middle name too,
Oh, of course he does.
and my grandfather went by his.
But you're,
My dad learned from his father the way that I learned from mine.
let the boy learn.
Let the boy learn. Nah, my son goes by his middle name too, Arik. Only because if we would have gone the first name, it would have been Arik Stephen Shortridge.
So I'm going to start calling him Art. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways,
Well, dude,
before we
hey.
get too far down the...
Yeah, we're
Rabbit
going
hole.
down a rabbit hole already.
Yeah.
Are we drinking rabbit hole, by the way?
No, we went with the
What'd you pick?
whistle pig.
Whistle pig.
Yeah.
So we're not chasing rabbits. We're
No.
sticking a pig.
Yeah, stick the pig.
Dude, what's great to have you on board officially now. We can say it officially now.
Yep.
You started out, or I started out with you as an intern, or you started out with us as an intern through Navy Special Warfare. I think we can say that now.
SOCOM,
Yeah.
the SOCOM Care Coalition.
Can you explain to folks what that is? What do they care about?
The troops and the family. They call it POTF, Preservation of the Forces and Family, or the Force and Family. It's all kind of, human performance, family-driven, next career-driven. SOCOM really, if you don't know what SOCOM is, it's Special Operations Command. They really take care of their people.
Yeah. I have to say, from the time, I've been out of the Marine Corps 30 years now and some change.
Yeah.
And it's been impressive to watch since 9/11 the care that the government in general, and usually I'm not bragging on the government for anything, those assholes. Just kidding, Uncle Sam. But from the time that I went through the Corps back in the day when we had to go uphill both ways in the snow, to where you are, it's been very encouraging to see how they've taken care of the troops since 9/11.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we learned a lot of mistakes in the Vietnam era, how vets were being treated and taken care of, and
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of good come from it. One of the things that sticks out in my mind, Shorty, more than I think anything, this will lead into our toast, is after the war really kicked off in around 2006, my father-in-law is the deputy commander of National Naval Medical Center. And the 6th floor was basically the ward for all the Marines and Spec War guys that had come back with traumatic injuries, traumatic brain injuries to missing limbs.
Yeah.
And we, Kathleen and I and our kids were visiting Bethesda and visiting my in-laws. And Mark being the XO, it's like, hey, do you want to go visit some troops? And I'm like, hell yeah. So he took me around. I think it was on the the 6th floor of the hospital. And I saw dudes that Mark said to me, if this had been any other conflict from, all the way back to Vietnam, World War II, I forget the percentage he gave me. It was really high, but he said, had these injuries occurred on the battlefield decades ago,
They wouldn't be there.
they wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And from trauma treatment, the triage that young medics,
Yep.
20-somethings, are on the battlefield basically as ER docs.
Yep.
And the science and the ability for them to keep people alive to where they can get proper care was just blown away. I saw one young Marine. It's still the picture in my mind as I walk into this room, and it's a squad bay, Marines, 4 young Marines. This one young Lance Corporal, his mom's there, and just providing him comfort, just being in the room with him. And Shorty, half of his skull,
Gone.
just gone,
Wow.
missing. It was concave.
Yeah.
And the dude had some severe cognitive issues, but he was alive, and you could tell he still had that Marine spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And then other dudes missing arms up to their shoulder, missing some people to their waistline, missing their lower half. And the spirit that these dudes exhibited was just, brought me to tears. And, and one just made me even that much more of a patriot, that the guys, including yourself, and even me, we're volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody made us go.
Yep.
It was a choice and an honor to serve. So one of the things we always like to do, as you're aware on our podcast, is to always do a toast to our vets.
Yep.
And one of the things I'd like to do, and that Shorty, this has been huge in your family. You are how can I say, you are once removed from a Gold Star vet.
Yep.
Your current wife, your only wife,
Tiffany.
Yep.
That's right.
No surprises here, Tiffany. Tiffany's first husband was killed in action.
Yep.
And so Gold Star mom. And I'd like to even just salute you today for just a person on the outside looking in and watching you over your lifetime, the sacrifice that not only Tiffany and her children made, but the sacrifice you made and the commitment that you made to Tiffany and her kids that she had with Tony. Dude, that's huge. I don't think I've ever told you that.
Appreciate that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to the brothers and sisters.
To those fallen.
Yep.
So what was that like? You marry into an immediate family. You marry into obviously some, and we don't have to go too deep with it, but
Well, I think you got to back up a little bit.
yeah.
Can't just go right into marriage, right?
Well, you take us where you want with this. Your podcast.
You know, we used to go to church together, and
Yeah.
you and me and
Yeah.
Tiff and a bunch of our friends. And I just saw this smoking hot brunette across the across the sanctuary one day, and I'm like, "Who is that?" And long story short, I befriend her brother-in-law, who was Tony's brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law.
Yeah.
My high school best friend.
Yeah, Dave.
Shtick.
Befriend Dave, and I do my own recon before I go and talk
Sure.
to her, right?
Yeah.
So befriend Dave, build some rapport with Dave, good to go. And I go talk to Tiff. I mean, it was instant, man. I was like, I'm gonna marry this woman.
Really?
Yep, like that. Yep.
Whether she had any say in it or not,
Yeah, I mean, I basically forced her to marry me. Yeah, no, I mean, she just, I didn't know too much about her background. Started to learn a little bit more the more I asked questions, and peel the onion with her and, get to the, okay, she's got 2 kids. And it took, we only dated for like 6 months and then we were married.
Wow.
Like that, pretty quick.
That's similar to Kat and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were some times, man, I was like, Dad, man, you look at myself in the mirror and like, you want to be a dad already?
Mm.
But I fell in love with those kids instantly too. Anthony and Sully.
And then you had the gumption to have Arik.
Yeah. Yeah, and
The arse.
and he came out like smoking a cigar and middle finger up. So,
And then you adopted.
and then we adopted, yeah, and that was through some family stuff too. Dave and Dave's side and Sarah's side. Yeah, it was busy there for quite a few years. I'll tell you this though. Probably a month after we got married. I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, what the hell did you get yourself into?
Like, oh,
Yeah.
my God, this is happening.
That was 2008. So, yeah, we've been married for 16 years, happily married. But it's tough. I mean, back to what we were talking about before all this and, loss and injuries. And, I told Tiff one day, I'm like, you're a glutton for punishment because coming from a special warfare background, she didn't really know what she was getting into.
She jumped out of the pot into the fire with.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point where she's like, "Oh my God, wait a minute! I've lost one husband, and now here I am dating a special operator at the famous dev group."
Yeah. Plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, what? What are we doing? Where do you work?
Yeah.
Because we are secretive, right?
Right. Nobody knows about that place.
Nobody knows. But I mean, deploy, come back, train. Deploy, come back, train. Deploy, come back, train. It was difficult because there's a lot of emotion built up when you lose somebody.
Yeah.
We've lost brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Never lost a spouse, but my wife losing her spouse, there was there's turmoil there that when it comes time to walk out that front door and then go to Afghanistan again, I mean there's so much
comes back.
Yeah, it's not just like, okay, see ya. There's a lot behind that, and just going wheels up on the way out. For me, one, knowing what we're going to, but more importantly for Tiffany and the kids, so.
And what's cool, again, reiterating that not only the federal government and the programs that they really implemented from post 9/11 GI to additional benefits that Gold Star families can get, but the NGOs, the non-governmental agencies, organizations that stepped up huge and have made leaps and bounds in terms of contributions and gifts. It's so cool.
Yep.
And it makes me proud to be an American. For all the things that are fucked up in our country, those are some things that we got right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but
We're getting better.
Getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things with that KP is it's not necessarily the government that actioned them. It was an idea within within an individual to go, man, I'm passionate about something, whether it be, riding horses. My buddy Mike Hall with Hold the Reins, right? He's passionate about riding horses and what horses can teach people. He had that idea. And now he's got special operators coming to their, I think it's a week long, and hanging out with, some cowboys and spending time with horses and not only learning about them, not only learning about horses, but learning about themselves and how to like, I guess, rewire your brain to come down a little bit, because a horse can sense, like skittish behavior, fear, can sense all that stuff. So teaching yourself to come down, but all back to, he had an idea, got it approved, or, started a nonprofit, boom, off to the races.
wow.
Yeah,
We need to get him on the show.
totally. I know he'd come out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
Let's do that right after this. We'll
Yep. Give him a shout.
reach out to him. And you got your buddy Bear on the show. It's coming up here. I think we're launching that one this Friday. Bear Hanlon.
Born Primitive.
Shout out to Born Primitive.
Yeah, where's my shirt, Bear?
Yeah. Bear, get us some swag, man. What are you doing? Come on. Promoting you here, dude. Yeah, that was cool. Bear was a great interview. And I knew he was a smart dude, but I was really impressed. I was like, he's not just another knuckle dragger seal here. This guy's a Yale.
Yeah.
A Yalesman.
Yeah.
What is their mascot? Yale. I should know that.
Jacob.
Jake, look that
Jacob,
up.
what's the mascot for Yale?
I should know that. My mentor, Ron Dukes, played basketball at Yale.
I have it in my head, but I can't.
The Cougars? I don't know.
Yale Cougars.
The Bulldogs? Handsome Dan?
Handsome
I
Dan.
can't see that.
Yale University, Handsome Dan. Yeah, the Bulldog.
Are they the Bulldogs, Jake?
They're just saying, Handsome Dan, a bulldog. Yeah, I guess so. It's there on the TV for you.
The Yale Handsome Dans.
There you go. Mascot.
I think it is bulldog.
Part of the
Bulldog. Yeah, Yale Bulldogs. There it is. I should have known that.
But yeah, super intelligent guy.
Yeah.
Done really well with Born Primitive.
Yeah. So what? Watch that podcast on Friday, right, Jake? Releasing this Friday.
Correct.
Cool. Friday the 29th?
What's today?
Yes. The
August
26th is today. So yeah.
Yeah.
Today's
Okay.
25th.
Not to take this pot or anything.
Yeah.
I'm retired now.
Yeah. Who cares? But yeah, so you started out a client of my financial firm back around 2014, I think it was. And
Yep, 10 years ago.
I think we met at a church event, a poker night or a casino night at a church event, of all things. I think it was.
Yeah, it was casino night.
Yeah.
And then we all went down to the beachfront. It was at the beachfront, and then we went and had dinner and
Yeah, we were at the Hilton
Yep.
down at the beach.
Wrapped for a
Virginia
little
Beach.
bit. built rapport.
Yeah. And so I was doing a life mastery or wealth mastery coaching course, just trying to get what I noticed in my financial business is that most people were making a lot of mistakes financially just because of head trash.
Yeah.
And so I built a course around that in 90 days of wealth mastery and just trying to, in those first 90 days, to build habits and to build positive habits through a positive money philosophy.
Yeah.
And I found that it worked for me personally and just developed that into a system. And you took part in that. And it was really, I think from an outsider looking in, it was very beneficial for you and helped freed up a bunch of cash flow for you and your family during that time. And then you went out and
What did I do?
bought a effing Tacoma or a Tundra. A Tundra,
Limited.
right? Limited. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, I mean, so I think we cleared up about, it was nearly $3,000 a month.
jeez.
Yeah, consolidated some stuff, paid off a couple things, and then young and dumb.
As most young sailors, like when they get big bonuses and
Yeah, I
free
might
up
have got a
cash, you're
bonus
like,
around that time too.
yeah, I'm gonna go buy a truck.
Yeah, it was a nice truck.
It was a very nice
It
truck.
was.
I was like, damn, shorty,
Yeah.
where are you hiding all this money?
Well, you helped me find it.
So we got you so far in the system. It proved beneficial, and in all seriousness, a lot of good things came from that. And I think one of the things that was birthed out of that was your passion for finance
Yeah.
and trading. I remember our buddy Lou talking about seeing you out at sea and off the coast of Somalia somewhere. And while everybody else is kind of in their downtime goofing off, you were over there with your multiple screens
Practicing.
practicing trading away.
Yep.
And caught his attention to where he was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, I'm learning to be a financial expert.
Yeah.
So you started getting some affinity in the financial business and reached out to me a couple years ago, and we started talking and
Yeah.
like kind of lifted up the skirt of the financial business, try to scare you away from it,
Yep.
actually. But we found that your skill set and what you learned in the Navy and leading troops and sailors, that you had really strong leadership qualities. And so we officially brought you on what, in
Middle of June,
June,
about June 15th.
as our director of operations.
Yeah.
Took me a couple weeks to figure out, what are we calling you again? OPSO.
OPSO, Director of Ops, Vice President OPSO, VPO. I don't know.
VPO,
Yeah.
But you're also credentialing to be one of our advisors and helping build our advisory team at Kenneth Porter and Company. So, again, welcome aboard.
Yeah, thanks.
Just wanted to chat with you today and kind of make an introduction.
I think this actually started about 10 years ago.
Really?
Getting to this point. Yeah. When I look back, going through, doing the 90-day mastery course, developing my own belief system when it comes to finances. After we finished that, I said, hey, man, I think I'm interested in this. And I've been telling people this probably for the last couple of weeks because it hit me. I was like, holy crap. I started my exit strategy with the Navy a decade ago.
So you were reverse engineered to this date that you
Yep.
knew you were leaving.
Yep. I mean, I had plans with the Navy. They didn't work out, which is okay. I'm thankful that they did.
We talked about that.
Yeah. But I really am thankful that they didn't work out because I think I would have gone down a route that I just wouldn't have been happy with.
Yeah.
And I loved being in the Navy, but I knew that there's always that little thing. At some point, you got to leave.
Yeah.
And I started thinking really hard. I was like, okay, let's go back to where I did the wealth mastery course. Coming out of that, I was like, man, I really want to get licensed. And I went and got licensed.
Yep.
Kept it for a while, had to pick up some additional duties within leadership within the Navy, fell off just because the time that it took.
Yeah.
But once
It's commitment.
Yeah. Once that stuff kind of tampered down, that desire came back to get back in the business. So, man, I was like, yeah, this has been coming for about 10 years, and then boom, here we are. So it's pretty cool to kind of look back and
Yeah.
now in the office, relaxed,
Yeah.
not driving.
You can't be
boats.
but so relaxed. We gotta push you a little harder, I think.
All right.
Give you more shit to do.
Yeah, let's do it.
Not that you're
Buy
not
the
busy.
house and
Yeah. Yeah, and you're living. Tiffany is staying in Brussels
Yep.
for an extended period of time. So you brought Eric.
Arik.
What's his name?
Arik.
Ars.
Yeah, ours.
You brought Art back to the U.S. to finish out school here.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. We kept our apartment in Brussels, and I think we'll both go back and forth, and it works. I mean,
How would you compare lifestyle in Brussels and living there for 3 years, and kind of the European speed, the way they do things, compared to being in the U.S.?
a European guy told me, I think it was an Italian guy. He goes, Shannon, you Americans, you live to work, where us Europeans, we work and then we go live. I mean, and I was like, you're absolutely right. I mean, we Americans grind. I mean, there's Europeans that grind it out. Everybody grinds it out. But putting it in perspective, I was like, the place I worked before I came back here was NATO Special Forces Command. At lunch, you could walk around the building, and the only people sitting at their computers eating lunch were Americans.
Really?
Yep. The Italians, the Greek guys, the Turkish guys, everybody else either left and they went and had lunch at home, or they were downstairs, having lunch in the team room. And
Interesting.
having
Yeah.
building relationships and talking, and doing life together.
Yeah.
Where we're upstairs just.
What do you think spawns or creates that type of culture in the U.S. versus Europe? What makes you different?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think that there's and I could be completely wrong because I wasn't an officer, but I think that there's a feeling that I have to do more every day. I just have to do more.
Yeah.
I have to be the best, or I have to get this done. I have to get this done, this done, this done. That's really not due for, 3 weeks or a month, but
Yeah.
I might as well do it now. And then I complete that, and then the thing that's due in 2 months, I can work on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And just a constant grinding mentality.
I
And
as
it's
a
hard to
Marine,
come down from that.
yeah, I completely get it. As a Marine, what was embedded and maybe even embedded in us at an early stage was when you raise your right hand and then you sign that contract, the government owns you,
Yeah.
and that the Marine Corps owns you,
Yeah.
and that the time you get off is called liberty. It's a privilege,
Yep.
not a benefit,
It's not given.
it's not given.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they could hold you hostage and you could stay at work 24/7 because the federal government has that type of power over you. And so it was always put into you that you get to go home because Marine Corps granted you the liberty to go home.
Yeah.
And so you became a part of that environment in a way that it was part of your lifestyle.
Yeah, and then you just feed off each other. Well, Kenny's working right now. I should probably be working too. Oh, Shannon's working. Oh, John's over there grinding too, right?
Yeah.
I had an Italian guy one day. I was eating lunch at my desk. Italian guy walks in. He was like a 06. And he goes, "Shorty, what are you doing?" I was like, excuse me. I was like, "I'm working on a course that we're creating for NATO." And he goes, "Why don't you just do it after lunch?" And I was like, "Oh, I just feel like I need to get it done now." And he's like, "Do you?" And he was like, no shit. He was like, "But do you really? You need to get it done, but you can't take 30, 45 minutes to go and have, fellowship, if you will, with the guys and gals downstairs and enjoy your lunch." And I looked at him. I said, "You know what, sir? You're absolutely right." And I Control Alt Delete, lock, grab my sandwich, and walked down with him and had lunch with everybody. After that day, I didn't sit at my desk one time during lunch.
Wow.
I was like, this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, minuscule on the grand scheme of things, but developing a new mentality or a new thought process on, how to live your life and bring things down a little bit. It was a pretty hard lesson learned for me.
That work-life balance thing, it's always
Absolutely. Yep.
something that has to be just bridled
Yeah.
often. So making that shift now into the financial business,
Yeah.
do you have those same feelings like, oh, well, I need to stay? You got studying for exams, credentialing, client meetings, helping run the business. I'm one of those guys that give a big vision and then kind of like, okay, you guys
Yeah. Go.
implement it. Go.
I think one of the things that's it's not difficult, but it's a little straining on my brain is like learning how, because I had when I was in the Navy, I had the way that I did things from the time I woke up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd go do X, Y, and Z, eat breakfast, go to work at 7:30 or 8. And then from then on, man, it was just like boom, 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 knock all this stuff out. So transitioning away from that very structured lifestyle with the military.
To all your time being your time.
Yeah. I have a hard time but like, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah.
How do I build out my daily battle rhythm within Kenneth Porter and Company?
Yeah.
And I learn something new every day. I'm like, okay, well, I can do this at this time. Or I don't have client meetings. Cool. Go learn something,
Yeah.
right? Don't have a client or got a client meeting coming up, knock that out. When I'm done with that, okay, go back to the books.
Yeah.
Learn the process that we have,
Yeah.
right? But I've been with you for a couple months now, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So,
And you got
I am
someone
s-
like me who's just like, I'm not going to micromanage you.
Yeah.
You're an adult.
yeah,
Here's the things I want. Bring them to me, and if I need to make adjustments, I will.
yep,
And I'm not one of those leaders who's like, in the ass like when I want it this way, and it's
yeah.
my
You're not a micromanager,
Yeah, I can't be.
No.
It would run me crazy.
and it's not good for the business either,
Yeah.
or for the shop in here.
Yeah,
It just creates a lot of unnecessary stress. But if you have a good team under you to
And I
take,
do.
take your vision and run,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
go.
I do.
You
I'm
know?
really happy with the team that we have right now.
Yeah.
I see some great opportunities. When you came over to this side and you've been on this side of the business, on the dark side of the financial business now for a couple months, and now that you're starting to interview potential clients, consumers, what's your opinion of how people view the world financially right now? What are you seeing? Fear, hope, greed?
I see a lot of uncertainty in a person's plan because they haven't been taught how to execute it. Well, everybody's taught, hey, contribute to your 401k, do your Roth, all your correlated assets.
They've been taught how to accumulate.
Accumulate.
Right?
Yeah, let's climb the mountain.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like they get to the top and there's fear sets in.
Yeah. What now?
Holy shit, the view's great, but how do I get back down?
Yeah.
Right. And then once we have this, that first discovery meeting, understand where they are, sitting right there at the top of the mountain, going into a strategy meeting. What I've really come to like is the sense of just like it's almost like a sigh of relief. I think my first or second client that I had that I brought in, she was in tears because she was very fearful going into retirement. She's maybe like 5-7 years away. She's like, I don't know if I have enough to be able to retire, and I don't know if I have enough time to accumulate. And then we implemented our strategies with her, and man, it gives me freaking goosebumps. She was in tears. She's like, oh my God, I can retire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, ma'am, you can.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Isn't that a great feeling to be able to show someone and be able to verify it and validate it
Yep.
and then back test it with, let's test it in one of the worst case scenarios. We can go back to 1929 and look at what happened in the Great Depression.
Yep.
And there could be worse times than that. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
But if we can pick one of the worst times that we're aware of and then be able to help someone see that the strategies that we're implementing gets them through that, there's an emotional, overwhelming peace that comes over people when they're able to experience that. And it's a lot of fun to be a person providing that.
Yeah. I mean, when you go
proof.
from uncertainty to fear to, almost exalted, almost like, oh my God,
Yeah.
thank you.
You know me. You hear me.
Yeah.
You feel me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. But to answer your question, uncertainty and fear, 100%.
Yeah. So there's 4 motivating factors. And I'm going to be talking about this in the event coming up in Vegas here in a couple of weeks. We're all going out for the financial software we use called the LEAP system and looking at our protection, savings, and growth model and sharing that with other advisors across the country. Going to Vegas, by the way, I got my Legionnaires badge while I was out there last time. I'll tell you more about that in a second. Yeah, it's contagious.
Yeah.
It's highly
Here,
contagious.
give me some of that.
But it narrows down to this, Shorty, and you and I have talked about this a few times over the last 2 months, is that there are 4 motivating factors for human beings, no matter what decision you make. And I'm supposed to stop the podcast now, but we're
going.
going to keep going.
Yeah.
4 motivating factors for human beings. Number 1 is their present fear,
Right.
what they're fearful of presently. And then if it's not a present fear, it's a future fear.
Yep.
Or their present pleasure or their future pleasure. And so our job as advisors is to discover and unravel what that is. Is it their present fear that's overcoming for them? Is it their future fear? Is it their current pleasure? And 90+%, according to science, is that most human beings are motivated solely in their fears. That they will move and they will take action quicker dealing with a fear, let's call it a financial fear.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is be in a position of where a person, most of the time if there's fear, and you saw this on the battlefield, fear overwhelmingly takes over logic in most cases. And so if you don't practice, and like one of the things in special warfare that I've learned from you guys is that you have to practice dealing with fear so that when it does occur in real life, you've got some resemblance of what behavior and what characteristics should show up.
What's the first thing you fall back on when you're met with a situation that's nothing but fear? Your training.
Training, yeah.
And then you have to ask yourself a question. Did you train hard enough to that point to get through this?
So there's a number of things I could go with that. And there was one that you had a friend, I had a friend who ended up in a situation that you were in a combat situation. I remember you sharing the story with me, and the buddy froze. And he peeled off from the engagement.
Yep.
And not to disparage him. I mean, the guy's going through some shitty period. But what's interesting about that and that behavior that he exhibited, it showed up later in his personal life.
Right.
And if you don't deal with those demons
Up front.
yeah, and deal with those, like we'll call them the financial demons of dealing with your retirement distribution phase, and you're just stuck in this accumulation phase. Well, if I just keep accumulating, if I keep saving, and I focus on that, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But that only gets you halfway up the mountain. The other part's getting down.
Getting down, yep.
And 70%, it's what I've read, 70% of all mountain and rock climbing accidents, and you've heard this, you know this, you can tell us the answer. What happens?
They get injured on the way down.
Injured or die.
Or die.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law broke his leg at the top of Mount Rainier coming down. And
I don't mean to laugh, but there you go.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I believe he didn't want to pay for the helicopter to come up and get him. So he hobbled his ass all the way down that mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
But
we get careless
on the way down. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's a big part of what we do in the firm is helping people understand how to get down the mountain as safely as they went up.
Yep.
And do it in a way that we can bring together the rope and the tools of everything from actuarial science to investments.
And not only get down, but like have multiple paths to get down.
Yeah.
Right?
Have some options.
Yeah.
Wouldn't options be great?
Yep.
Yeah. So isn't that exciting? Isn't that fun that you get that opportunity now to see that and have that impact on a person's life?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like managing a battle plan and then seeing it come together.
Yeah.
Seeing it actually
And
unfold.
That's one thing I really enjoyed is, like coming into the fold now, I've had to, you told me this, you're going to have to create your own narrative or your own like kind of path and how you're going to speak to people.
Yeah.
And probably over the last month, I put a lot of thought into that. And I've been able to like lean back on the way that we mission plan,
Yeah.
or do mission planning. And in mission planning, you have contingency plans for every phase of the mission. So now speaking to clients, I'm like, hey, okay, so we get to this point. What's the contingency plan if something happens? Okay, we're coming down the mountain. Contingency plan if the market goes down X percent, and you're pulling from that too.
Yeah.
So you're not only down X, but you're also pulled X.
Right.
So you're down double X, right? And a lot of people are like, well, I don't have a contingency plan for that. All right, let's build it.
Right.
Yeah. Let's build that in.
Yeah.
So we have some like safety nets.
Yeah. I mean, when you go into the distribution phases, alluding to what you're talking about here, is that if there's a correction in the market, you're now losing principal soldiers.
Yep.
Right? You're now losing the opportunity for advancement. And so if the market's in a retreat, your investments are in a retreat. And then if you add insult to injury by taking more of those principal soldiers out in a retreat, you can't get those back. You've killed them all.
How do you win the fight?
How do you win the fight? Yeah.
Yeah.
So winning the fight is saying, well, let's have a contingency for that. Let's have a contingency for retreating from a battle to win the war.
Yep.
Right? There's been many occasions in Navy and Marine Corps history where we had to give up some battles to save face to win the war. And that same thing holds true in finance and financial planning and retirement distribution planning.
Yeah.
Is it's never fun to have to go to the client and say, hey, we're not taking a distribution from your equities portfolio. There's that Legionnaires again.
Yeah.
We're not taking a distribution from your equities portfolio right now. We're going to go to this non-correlated, this defensive posture.
Jar in the yard.
Yeah, the jar in the yard. We're going to go there and take a safe distribution so that we can give these troops an opportunity to recover.
Yep.
And that takes me back to that 6th floor ward at National Naval Medical Center. They needed an opportunity to get back in the fight if they were ever going to get and getting back in the fight was just surviving.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maybe getting back in the fight to them wasn't going back on the battlefield, but it was just
Life.
Yeah,
right? Overcoming life.
Healing not only, body, mind, soul,
and
then getting back out there.
Yeah.
And what you talked about them having just, esprit de corps and being, like up and being positive, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many correlations between the battlefield
That's crazy.
and what happens in finance.
How much time do we have, Jacob?
Yeah, we're doing that.
We can go for a while here.
I've got a call with Damon in 4 minutes.
Minus 7 minutes.
-7. So we'll cut it short today. The main thing happened. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that we got Shannon Stephen Shortridge on the team.
Yeah.
Manning the helm, navigating the KP and Co ship. It's great to have you here, man. It's awesome to have a very, very close friend.
Yeah.
Also be part of my leadership team and somebody I have mad respect for, and the skill sets that you bring to the table. I'm excited to share with our community of folks who put a lot of trust in us and our investment advice and insurance strategies and financial strategies that we deploy.
Yeah.
And I think we're in great hands.
Dude, I'm pumped. I'm pumped, man. Like, what we're doing is awesome. Being part of the team's awesome. Long time coming. And just to be sitting here right now and talking about it, man, it's just like,
Well, it's so
it's
cool
like,
to have
shit.
somebody who was a client who experienced it from the client side.
Yeah.
To now being able to turn around to other clients and say, look, I was part of this process. I entrusted my financial life to this process, and it's served me well, and now I get to give back. So
Totally.
Cool to have you, man.
Yep. Thanks, brother.
Let's go to work. I got a
Be easy,
call to
guys.
do. Yep. Thank you, guys.
That was for you, Dash Wong.
Dash, I got to have you back in the new studio here soon. All right. Love you guys out there. Talk to you soon.
Blackbox.